I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, streaming January 25th, only on Netflix.
Welcome back to another episode of No Waco. This is your host, Debbie. Welcome back to another episode of No Waco. I'm your host, Debbie, and today we have a very special guest here in the studio. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Abbie Williams, and I'm with Growing Pins, and specifically the Poetry Leaf.
Yes, we're so excited to have you here. You also used to have a podcast, and you're not a stranger to the studio at all. No. So you're not a veteran on the pod, but you might as well be, and one of my dear friends. So I'm so glad to have you here. The first question I always ask is, what brought you to Waco, or are you a Waco native?
I am born and raised.
Woo, woo.
Yeah, technically Hewitt, but I feel like I get to call it home.
It's okay. Yeah. I moved into Hewitt, and I lived there for like 10 years, so it counts.
It's basically Waco. So yeah, born and raised. I left for like a year, realized that was a mistake, and came back.
Hey, listen, I hear that story from creatives all the time about coming here, going to school, leaving, and then coming back with that knowledge, exactly. Which again is so important to this melting pot of the society that we have here. So and just bringing in those knowledge from those other places that you've once traveled. Well, thank you so much for being here. We're actually here this month because it is first Friday of April, and it is National Poetry Month.
It sure is. It sure is. Yeah.
And you'll be doing a very exciting event / month-long exhibition. Do you want to tell me more about that?
Man, I would love to. So Growing Pins Poetry specifically is going to be hosting an exhibit at Cultivate 712 in the backspace. We've got several poets. I think we have a total of 12.
Wow.
That will be contributing. I know.
I'm so excited.
Numbers. It's really exciting. So we definitely wanted it to be interactive, since poetry in an art space is kind of different.
Abstract.
Yeah, a little different to just have kind of words on a wall instead of art, or visual art. Of course, poetry's art. But so it's going to be super interactive, working with the poets individually to see like what kind of interactive exhibits would really emphasize their work and work well with it. So we'll have those up all month long, but we'll have our opening tonight.
Woo, woo.
I'm so excited. Have a Glass with Growing Pins is what we're calling the event. Tickets are still on sale on Cultivate's website, and we are doing $25 tickets for come have a little cocktail and charcuterie board and hear all the amazing poets, or a minimum $5 donation at the door for those of you who want to hear poetry, but maybe you're not 21, or just don't really want to have refreshments, but still want to participate and support the arts. So yeah, that's tonight is our opening, and then it'll be up and running and available to interact with all month long.
Yeah, and our bartender, Natalie, she's so excited. She's actually worked on some themed cocktails for the event. She sent me a picture the other day. I was going to pull it up and show you, but it is so cute.
She sent it to me as well.
A haiku a haiku cocktail, like all kinds of stuff.
We got a spoken word sour.
Yes. It's going to be so cute. I'm so excited. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, another great way for our community to hear poetry. And not only that, this will be a month-long exhibit, but you guys also have so many events coming up. So tell me about some of the other stuff you have coming up.
So much happening, yes. So we have our opening tonight from 7 to 9 at Cultivate. In the exhibit space, we'll have the poets who are part of the exhibit sharing, and of course, all of the interactive pieces up and running and going for people to interact with each other. And then our next thing after that will be April 13th, which is a slam.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Poetry slam. You gotta do
snaps. Yes, snaps all the way. At Common Grounds Waco. So this is the second one that we're hosting, and also only the second ever one in Waco.
Wow.
So Slam has never really made its way to Waco, crazy enough. We kind of do our own twist on it. It's me, Ryan Thomas, and Julia Lauren who run these, and we just invited in Liv Nortello Clark to help me do some admin stuff. Yeah. So we've kind of developed our own system. It does follow a lot of traditional Slam guidelines, but we also do audience voting, which kind of makes ours unique and a lot more fun, in my opinion. So we do it as majority rules. That's the person who wins for second, third, and we do 3 rounds. The first 2 rounds are 3-minute-long poems, and the last is a minute-long poem.
Wow,
so,
that's
super
so
fun.
exciting.
Yeah, that'll be April 13th at Common Grounds Waco.
All right, perfect. And I know Growing Pins is an organization. So what is Growing Pins?
Right. So, yeah, I run the Poetry Leaf, but Growing Pins is a bigger organization. And so Growing Pins is basically made with the idea that art in any form by the pen helps us grow. And so Growing Pins in general just really celebrates any sort of art that happens by the pen. So obviously a lot of that is writing, but then we also have some focus on visual arts too, and visual artists are more than welcome to join us. It is an organization that was originally started by Ryan Thomas and Julia Lauren, and like I said, myself runs the Poetry Leaf. Liv Nortello Clark has come on as our admin, and then we also have a fiction leaf that just started as well.
I saw that. I'm so excited.
So it's a great organization and ever growing, as hence the name. But the general organization is just celebrating all kinds of artists that make by the pen, and then we have these leaves so that artists that are more similar in their craft can kind of connect. As far as stuff that's going on with Growing Pins, the general organization, we've started these Monday meetings that happen twice a month. And so we just had one on the 3rd, and then our next one will be the 17th, and those happen at Fabled. We have people who know about publishing to help people get their art out there. Maybe sometimes we just do kind of an activity to glean from each other's art, but they're always a great time. Mondays, every other Monday at Fabled.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. Yeah. And you guys have so many other exciting things.
Yes.
One of the big things on the poetry side is you guys were doing a underground poetry night.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. So tell me about that process and what that's been like.
You mean our open mics? Yes. Okay, so my journey in the poetry world in Waco has been long, but I used to run actually Cultivate way back in the day when I was in high school. Some nights with Waco Poet Society, we do it there, and then we did it at not Ninfa's, another one of the Mexican restaurants. I'm trying to remember which one. But we would do open mics once a month, and so that's kind of how I learned the trade. Jordan Wallace was kind of my mentor. He used to run it, and I kind of came under his wing in high school and helped do some of the more admin stuff. And so we used to do that way back in the day. Like I said, I left Waco for a little bit, and so I lost my ability to do that. But when I came back, I got to start it last January.
Yeah.
So
can't believe it's already been
a year.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
I didn't put that together. So those actually started, I think I did January through July, maybe at the Jubilee Theater, and then maybe a little earlier.
I think so. I think I saw it. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe it was, I feel
I've
like
been following it for a long time. So.
Well, I started for sure at the Jubilee in January. I don't remember when we transitioned to Cultivate. It may have been earlier. Maybe it was May or June. I don't know. We did it at the Jubilee for a while, and then we got to transition to Cultivate, and Debbie was amazing, helped us unlock the Undercroft, I feel like, because we used to do it upstairs. Now we do it downstairs in the Undercroft. It is quite literally the perfect atmosphere for poetry.
Hello, an underground speakeasy. What's better than that?
It is so perfect. It's ridiculous. We've really curated like such a beautiful, beautiful community of people. I have yet to have somebody come and not enjoy it, whether they're actually a poet or they just came to, check it out or listen, or people who are members and just happen to come
that night. Yeah.
Which has been such a nice thing for me, and like encouraging that it's not just like my little passion that I'm forcing people to come to, but like genuinely like a really cool space. Every single month we have such good feedback. So we do those once a month, open mics in the Undercroft. Basically the first 30 minutes we either have an artist to speak and share it that way, or we do a workshop and kind of create together for about 30 minutes, and then we have an hour and a half of poetry-centric open mic. I feel like Waco has a lot of awesome open mics, but they're not super poetry conducive. Like, I don't exactly want to go up after somebody's nice little country song and share a poem about my trauma. So I made this space. Of course, we love art should be collaborative, creation should be collaborative, which is why I sometimes pull in those featured artists of different mediums, but that open mic stays poetry-centric, and it's really, really special.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing about that. We're going to take a quick break real fast, and then we'll be right back. And now for a word from our sponsors. And now, back to the episode. All right, and we're back. So before we were just talking about the amazing organization of Growing Pens and all of the exciting events you have coming on, one of the questions I love to ask is, what is one of your goals going by the end of the year? What is something that you want to achieve either in the Poetry Leaf or even just with Growing Pens altogether?
Yeah, absolutely. So something we just recently started up, we just had our first one last night, is Good Work. So we super value, obviously, collaborative creation. And so these are going to be nights of poetry and music combined, maybe even get some visual artists. That's our goal. If you're a visual artist and you want to be part of Good Work.
And this is going to be in a basement too, right?
Yes.
So a lot of poets hang out in basements, right? Is that the thing?
We just like basements. We're like little rats, but with good words.
There you go.
We had our first one in Story's basement, probably gonna pop around Waco. I don't know. Ryan's kind of the mastermind behind all that.
Shout out Ryan.
Shout out Ryan Thomas. He's got it.
Ryan the Sun.
Yes, Ryan the Sun. That's his music handle. It's been really cool to already do that and be collaborative. I think, balancing wanting to create spaces that highlight poetry and then also wanting to create spaces that allows poetry to coexist with other art forms is definitely at least my personal goal. As far as Growing Pens in general, though, we just want more and more art to get influenced into Waco or get influxed into Waco. We talk about this all the time, actually, as three people who kind of have wanderlust spirits, have thought about going to Austin or LA or, Atlanta or whatever. And it's like so many creatives do take that route and they leave and they go to these bigger cities with bigger scenes, or we kind of had this option or choice that we've made to stay here and try to see it happen here. And that's definitely like my heart and has been, because it certainly would be fun to go to Dallas, Houston, or Austin that already have established slams and already have poetry clubs that I don't have to run and be stressed about. But there's something really, really unique and special about creating it, not only in Waco, but the fact that Waco is my hometown and creating it here. So I think just more and more events, like you talked about, a bunch are coming up, and that's not always been the case. So I think a more full calendar is our goal by the end of the calendar year. I
love that. And you've already segued into my next question. Ooh. And again, this showcase is an absolute wonderful way to grow this community and continue having things like this. But my next question is, why is it so important to be here in Waco and do this in Waco?
I think that, first of all, I think every single person is creative by nature. And I have my own opinions about why that is. I think it is a really, really crucial characteristic in people that often get suppressed because it's not always a very monetary characteristic, or it's not always attached to success in the ways that we think it is. But I think it's such a life-giving characteristic. And so I don't think it should only belong to the big cities or the art-centric cities. I think, if we looked at Austin, like, let's take Austin as our example, because it's just like,
it's so close.
It just is, it's close, and it's like known for its like artsy people, right? It's like somebody that's born into Austin or lives in Austin is just naturally surrounded by it, and so it's going to pull creativity out of them all the more, which again, I think is like a lifeline for us as people. And so I don't think it's necessarily just Waco that needs it. I think it's every city that needs it. And the fact that I was born here and I am here and I'm getting traction here means I'm going to keep doing the work here.
Yeah, I love that. And again, that kind of even goes into my next question is, what do you want to see more of in Waco?
Yeah, I think I would love to see even more spaces like the ones I create. It's hard because I can be kind of a competitive person by nature, but I'm trying to break that because I really don't think, creation isn't, it's collaborative, it's not competitive. I would love to see even more opportunities so that I'm not the only one breathing a poetry-centric space into Waco, so that if one day I do decide to move, it lives on type thing. I just think it's silly, but I'm like more full calendars. Like I want every evening of every day
poetry
or just like things to
creativity,
do. Like you have to like pick between 3 amazing events. Like that would be so cool,
Me Wednesday night with the farmers market.
No, truly. I like went to the farmers market, went to a spin class, came back to the farmers market.
Oh my
gosh. Yeah. It's so fun. And I really do think like Waco is starting to boom in those ways. But yeah, I don't know, just more, which is like the most lofty answer. I should have a better one as a poet.
No, that's fantastic.
But I just think, I'm just excited. I don't think I necessarily have specific expectations, but I have been so pleased having grown up here and seeing the growth that has kind of followed me.
Yeah.
Like I'm 21, and so like the last 20 years, I feel
you're
like
just a baby.
I am young. I'm real young. But yeah, I don't know. I think the last like 20 years have been night and day for Waco, and it's been cool to like almost grow up alongside it, especially creatively.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. And again, just finding that community and, seeing it grow.
Yeah.
What is something you would say about the Waco poetry community that's so different than anywhere else?
Ooh, I don't know, because I haven't super explored poetry communities in other places. I will say though, specifically, and obviously like I'm biased, but specifically our little spot, in the Undercroft once a month is one of the least, because I said it just a second ago, but it's one of the least competitive creative spaces I have ever been in. I used to not be able to read other people's poetry or listen to it because I would get so jealous. I was like, oh, I should have thought of that line. And it's like, girl, they should all exist. You're fine. You have brilliant minds too. But one, I already broke that spirit off in my own self. But two, it's like there's just not even space for it in there. Everybody is so celebratory of everyone else's work. It's like a really good place, I would say, to try and fail, but nobody's failing. Like, we're all just sharing. And so I think that is something that is unique, at least to that space, even maybe in comparison to other creative spaces in Waco. I don't know what we did. It's not me. Because clearly I got some issues that I have to work out with competitiveness, but like the people that show up and just the way that people share, I think maybe the vulnerability in which people share, there's not really room to like pick on their weaknesses because they're laying them out to dry, and it's like, why would I do that? Instead, I'm just gonna like sit there, let you do this, and we'll all just kind of celebrate each other. So it's less competitive than anything I've ever seen creatively.
Yeah, I love that. I love how it's really drawn back into the community. One of my favorite sections of the show is we actually have a shout out section.
Ooh, love it.
Is there anybody you would like to shout out that has helped you along this journey, or anybody in the community? I also say you can shout out your mom, your dog, or your grandma.
Oh, so cute. I think I definitely have already said a bunch of the names that I've worked with, but of course Ryan Thomas, Julia Lauren, and Liv Nortello Clark are my team at Growing Pins, and we just love them so much. They're amazing. My good friends Elaine Suri and Nick Marquez, also amazing creatives in Waco, and they have been so, every single month they're like, girl, this space is so nice. I'm like, thank you for saying it.
Aww.
I've heard it, but I'm words of affirmation. I need to hear it every day. I don't know, of course my mom and dad, they gave me my brain. I get to use it. But yeah, I think it takes a village to not just raise a child but raise a community, especially a creative one, so we're doing it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And again, give us all of your social media where we can find out more, how people get involved.
Of course, yeah. So Growing Pins and Growing Pins Poetry each has their own social media, so follow both. I mean, we repost everything, but Growing Pins is just all one word, Growing Pins, GROWINGPENS. Thank you. The way I immediately lost all use of words, ironically enough. And then the same thing, add poetry at the end. POETRY.
Yeah, that's how you spell poetry.
Growing Pins and Growing Pins Poetry on Instagram, all one word. I think that's the only platform we use, which is kind of not smart of us, maybe. But we definitely do that. Also, if you ever want to reach me personally, I have a poetry Instagram, ABBIE.CONNECT. Chelle, Abbie Shell on Instagram. That's where I put my poems. And I also am very interactive with DMs on there. It's kind of where I do my poetry stuff. So I think that's all I need.
Yeah, you also do a little sit in your car and read poetry.
I sure do.
I love it. Every time it pops up,
Nissan Rogue.
It's like, hi, I'm a girl that likes doing poetry in my car.
Hey, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. The people like it.
I love it.
Keep doing it.
Keep doing it. But yeah, give us all the last minute details for the events that are coming up, anywhere we can find out. Give us just run through of dates and times so people know.
Let me open up my calendar and I'll just go in order. So tonight we have our opening of the exhibit. We're super, super stoked. That is at Cultivate 712, April 7th. And then the next thing we have is our slam. That's at Common Grounds Waco on the 13th. I said the next thing we have, but I actually think in the middle there, I never said the novel writing one.
Oh my
If you're
gosh.
a fiction writer and you want to write fiction with people who also like to write fiction, that's every other Sunday, 5 p.m. at Dichotomy. So the next one will be the 9th. It's coming up this Sunday. And then the one after that will be the 23rd of April. Those will be our 2 in April. And then, of course, we have our every other Monday at Fabled. That's the big Growing Pins. Everybody from Growing Pins can come. Our next one is April 17th. We just had one on the 3rd. And then last but not least, my special little space that I just love so dearly. It's going to be May 27th. That'll be our next one. And those run from 8 to 10 in the Undercroft, BYOB. We also now have B there to sell, which is exciting. And if you want to see what it's all about, see if I'm blowing steam. Is that what it's called? Blowing smoke.
Blowing smoke?
Blowing smoke.
I think blowing steam works too.
Blowing steam. I don't know where that came from.
You should write a poem called
I think I'm a trade. Blowing smoke about it. Come check it out for yourself. May 27th.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners today?
I don't think so. Please come. If you want to see art in Waco, you have to show it for art in Waco, you know?
Yeah, be the Waco you want to see.
That's it.
That's what I always say.
Be the Waco you want to see. I love it.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time today.
Of course.
Find us everywhere on all social media platforms, KNOW_Waco. Check us out at roguemedianetwork.com, and we're on YouTube under Rogue Media Network. Check out nowaco.com.